Today's episode of The Mom Game is brought to you by our friends at Gateway Buick GMC at LBJ and Jupiter. I know that buying a car can be stressful, but not at Gateway because their slogan is Gateway's got it. And just what does that mean? Well, it means Gateway's got a wide selection of new Buicks, GMCs, and GM certified used vehicles, all competitively priced. Gateway's got it. In these busy times, you want a car dealer who makes things easy and convenient. Well, guess what? Gateway's got it. When you log on to gatewaybuickgmc.com, look for the Shop, Click, Drive button. This allows you to shop from the comfort of your home, and who doesn't want that? In fact, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1, select your vehicle. 2, create your offer. 3, schedule your delivery. And on top of all this, Gateway Buick GMC offers complimentary car washes for life. So when you want a dealer who has it all, Gateway's got it. You can find them online at gatewaybuickgmc.com or shop in person at LBJ and Jupiter. GMC, we are professional grade. Experience the new Buick. And welcome to episode 142 of The Mom Game. I'm Emily Jones. She's Julie Dobbs. Julie, I can't see. Like, my vision has gotten so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just getting old. I'm having eye surgery on Friday. I feel like that was an abrupt welcome. Like, welcome, I can't see.
It's okay.
Because I'm trying to read the copy. And I don't know if this thing in my eye that I'm having removed on Friday is starting to affect my vision or if I'm just old as fuck and I'm...
Probably a combination of the two.
So we'll see. We'll find out on Friday. So
what are you having removed?
So I have this like growth on my eye, on the left eye. Uh-huh. And it basically looks like I'm either high or drunk all the time. No, it's not a sty. It's on my eyeball.
On your eyeball. So
basically what the eye doctor told me is it's like maybe something got in there and then my eye formed a protective. But
it's
been like 2 years and I've been putting it off and they're like, you can't get it done during the season because you're on television and you're going to look effed up for a little while.
Do you get to wear a patch?
I don't know. What if I have a patch?
I bet you will.
Okay, if I have a patch, do you want me to like add some sound effects? Like, "Arr, matey, how are you doing?"
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I want to shoot an episode with your patch on.
We're not shooting an episode with a patch on. Maybe I'll just put it on for a little bit. I think I do have to wear a patch.
I think you do.
Why are you so excited about me wearing an eye patch? I think it's just when I sleep so I don't like accidentally scratch it or something.
Okay.
Well, but I'll pull it out for you. We've got a TMG After Dark coming up.
We do.
I'll just do my whole thing. I'll go get a hook thing, a hook hand. I'll get a hook hand and wear an eye patch. And we'll shoot
Hell yes. This is exciting.
Yeah.
I had an eye surgery when I was little and I had to wear a patch. That's how I know. That's how they protect your eye after the surgery because they don't want you opening it up and seeing all the light.
Right.
So hell yeah, you're going to have a patch.
So I'm going to have a patch.
Yeah. If you weren't excited before, you can be excited now.
Oh, you're more excited than I am. But I am excited to get it done. It's like one of those things that like you feel old as fuck, but you're like, I got to get this done so I can move on with my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have a huge episode today.
Yeah, we do.
My friend and former general manager and president of the Texas Rangers, John Daniels, will be with us for the first time he's spoken publicly since he was, in his words, shit canned from the Rangers.
This is
JD JD is one of my closest friends in baseball. Anyway, and so I've been begging him to come on for a while, and he finally was like, "Okay, I will." And so I'm super excited to have JD on. Especially, he's such a different dude than I think what's portrayed in the media. That I'm excited for you to get to know him. I'm excited for our audience to get to know him.
What about our defense? They're feeling left out.
I feel like special teams is really going to love him. Like special teams is really going to dig JD. So I'm excited to have JD on. So we're going to keep our little back and forth, as great as this is, relatively short. But before we get to anything else, we have a new sponsor, and we're going to be out in the wild.
We are going to be out in the wild.
We're going to be doing a remote.
We are activating. We have an activation.
The way you said that was so cute.
We have an activation.
All right, tell me about the activation.
Mom Game is now very excited to be working with Panther City Lacrosse.
And we're going to be on location at their first game.
I know.
We're on location. Like, people are going to be walking by, maybe listening to us.
It's like a remote.
It's kind of terrifying. And I got to clean up the language. This is a family-friendly event.
That's true. But I don't think you'll be talking loud enough where everyone...
But what if there's speakers? What if they want us to have speakers?
Oh, my gosh.
That's what I'm saying. I got to...
If there's speakers, then yes.
All right.
But no, it'll be fun. We are now working with Panther City Lacrosse Club in Fort Worth, in your backyard, Emily.
So excited.
And I don't know if you're...
Slumber party. Y'all can spend the night at my house.
Okay. You mean that?
I do.
We're going to.
Oh. Well, that was a quick acceptance of an invitation.
Well, I'm already going to be in Fort Worth until about 9 o'clock. And that sounds a lot better than driving home. Okay. Get that bunk room ready.
You can sleep on the bottom bunk. I don't want you messing up my guest room sheets.
And I'm not even offended because you don't even sleep in your guest bedroom.
I'm just kidding. Wait, is Kelly coming?
Yeah, he's actually, I think, free this night.
If Kelly's coming, y'all can sleep in the guest room.
What if we do our own?
Oh, no, you can't do.
What if we make the bed and change the laundry?
I thought you were talking about other stuff. Okay. I mean, in that case, you'll need to bring your own detergent.
Why would I say that?
I don't know.
Would you let me sleep in your guest bed if we promised to do it? You think that's what I'm saying here?
Well, I don't want you to promise me, but I'm just saying it's a bed. You're a married couple.
Oh my God. We're not
happen in
freaking teenagers where it's any chance.
I mean,
oh my goodness.
When the moment strikes. Okay.
We're in the middle of a spot. Okay.
We are.
Let's start over.
Rewind.
For them. For the sanctity of our sponsor.
For the sanctity of the sponsor. Ted, keep this in. It's gold. But yes, for the sanctity of the sponsor, we are so delighted to welcome Panther City Lacrosse to the Mom Game family. Take it away, Julie.
We really are. I'm excited because I know having little kids that are into sports, sometimes it's overwhelming to try and go to Mavs or Cowboys or even the Stars. We get tickets, but it's a lot. Parking, everything else is a lot. And tickets a lot of times are expensive. And if you're like us and if you're just looking for something to do on the weekend or weeknight, whatever it may be, Panther City Lacrosse is where it's at. They are located in Fort Worth, where Emily lives, and that's all we have to say about that. And we are going to be there for their home opener. They're about to kick off their season December 9th at Dickies Arena, which I'm excited to see. I know you were just there for George Strait, and I've heard wonderful things about that venue.
I'm going tonight to the iHeartRadio Jingle Ball.
Yeah.
It's like Khalid, and it's going to be awesome. Dickies Arena is a great venue. Panther City Lacrosse is a fun night out with the family. Tickets as low as $25.
Yes.
I know that a lot of my friends last season, jumped on this bandwagon and cannot wait for this because lacrosse apparently is a big up and coming sport. My kids don't play it, but apparently it's a big deal.
A lot of the private schools are really into it. And Kelly, in Canada, it's lacrosse and hockey.
Yeah.
So he grew up watching lacrosse and he's into lacrosse. His family, it's a big deal up in Canada too. And I'm excited. It's kind of picking up here in the Metroplex and we're super pumped to be working with them. If you want to go to a game, you can go to the game that we're going to be at, which is going to be the home opener on December 9th. We're going to have a remote edition of the Mom Game going on. Just go to PantherCityLAX.com, PantherCityLAX.com. Tickets start at $25. I do think we're going to have some, a ticket giveaway in our near future as well.
Keep an eye on our social media to find out exactly where we'll be at Dickies Arena.
Yep.
Also the ticket giveaways. They've got games December 9th, December 17th. And then more games in the new year. And what's great about that is that it's spaced out so much to where, during the holidays when kids are out of school, it's always so crazy. Yep. And so they kind of take a little hiatus from home games and then pick back up when kids are back in school. So it really is the perfect little family outing. So we hope to see a lot of our mom gamers on it. It's really our first remote because our only other remote we've done was during COVID and there was no chance for our listeners to come. Yes. And so we hope you'll come out, come out, see us, say hi.
Yeah.
Make sure I don't cuss, all those things.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to a slumber party.
And then we're going to have slumber party.
Yeah.
Okay. So Julie, so many, there's some stuff going on in your world. So for everyone who doesn't listen regularly, Julie took a job recently at a new radio station called 97.1 The Freak. Mm-hmm. It is basically, it's not just sports. It's kind of like us. We say whatever the fuck we want and minus the cussing because they're on radio. So a lot of, kind of crazy things. Y'all had rats and then got back in the studio and then there was this big announcement. And the big announcement was Danny Bayless, who was formerly of The Ticket and favorite
He's
of the
been
mom
right
game.
here on the mom game.
He is our friend coming back to radio after leaving the ticket and joining the Freak. And so I listen, I follow, I still listen to the ticket. I still listen to, every once in a while I listen to the Fan. I feel like less and less. No offense to those guys. It's just like, I feel like now I'm super partial to you.
Yeah, thank you.
And so I kind of
Appreciate
go
that.
back and forth between you and the ticket. And, so when first of all, a lot of people speculated that I was the
I was
big
sending you
announcement.
screenshots of the
Yes.
message boards and stuff.
Right.
Well, because you came on with me last week.
I did. And I had so much fun.
Wasn't it fun?
Right. And I didn't realize I was so wild ass until everyone started commenting on how wild ass I am.
Isn't it funny?
I feel
It's
like I'm like medium wild ass, but everyone's like, she is so wild ass. And I'm like, okay.
It's
Which I
funny
guess I
because
am.
that's the thing with radio. Like you're yourself,
Right.
And everybody hears it. And you just feel like you're chatting with friends. And it's magnified to however many thousands of millions of people that listen to the Freak. Billions. And so you get comments about like you and your personality, and it's a weird kind of feeling, but then you're like, all right, I like this because I'm just being myself. And that's what you were.
And I, at the end of the day, I am super wild ass. Like, let's be real. I'm wild ass. It's okay.
We both kind of are.
Yeah. I mean, but like on a level of wild ass from 1 to 10, you're maybe like a 6 and I'm a 9.5.
When you talked about men's private parts having gills, I was trying to distance.
You were removed.
Not having gills.
Slowly walking.
You and Mike Soroy were talking about things that float, and then you were like, well, obviously they don't have gills. And I was like,
Because if they had gills, they
I
could
don't
breathe.
know her. I don't know her.
You were distancing. Do you know how many people in my life have done that? I'm just going to distance from her for a minute.
No, but it was awesome. You were awesome. And the people on all the message boards were like, I hope Emily Jones is joining the Downbeat. So if you ever do want a future in radio, you know where to go.
Well, so, and I had people reach out to me. Are you like joining
on
the Freak?
socials or?
No, personally too.
Oh.
And I was like, no, that's like a real job. I would have to like drive to a workplace
every day.
And they're like, wait, don't you do that with the Rangers? I'm like, yeah, I mean, that doesn't count.
But you can't do
count.
both. And the radio thing's all year.
It is all year. It's year round. Okay. So I do have some, it's not breaking news, but I do have some news about the Rangers. But before we talk about that, and before we get to our former Rangers employee post shit can, John Daniels, we want to talk about Diva Lore, who is our friend, Melanie Cobb.
Yep.
Super excited about, I'm going to see her. It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And I'm basically just going to tell, do you? So creepy. So I'm just excited. So my favorite thing about Melanie is she just tells me what I don't, it's like shopping. Like I don't like shopping. Just tell me what to get or whatever. And that's the thing about Melanie is she just I'm like, just look at my face. What can you do for this? Like just make it look as good as you can. I feel like I feel better. And I feel like after the move, I went through like 2 weeks where I wasn't doing like any skincare. It was basically just like fucking sleep and wake up. And now I'm like, okay, I'm back in I am eating. I'm eating a lot more. Thank you. Good. There was a time when eating was at a very, very high premium. Yes, the eating is back. The skincare routine is back. Okay. The mud yard is still there, but yeah, I'm getting back in my groove. But the thing I love about Melanie is it's like a skincare concierge. She looks at my skin. She's like, okay, what are you wanting to do? And I'm like, I just want to look better. And so she'll tell me exactly what to do. And then she'll also ask me, how much do you want to spend? Like, are you got some extra money this month, or are you trying to keep it tight? And whatever it is I tell her, she finds something to make me feel like I've done something good for myself and for my skin, and that makes me feel better. So we love Melanie Cobb at Diva Lore. She's also super wicked funny. She's just like us. She's a super chill girl. This is a new venture for her. This is a small business, and we would love it if you guys would support her as our listeners. Schedule a consultation. You can do it. She is in Fort Worth. Fort Worth people go see her. If you're not in Fort Worth, you can do it online. I mean, she can see your skin, honey. Yep. And then get you on a plan. If you need to come and see her, she can, make that happen. I know Julie, y'all are trying to talk about maybe doing an event in Dallas. We're all working on all those different things. We're trying to figure that out. Yeah. But it's hard with the holidays, but anyway, if you're looking for a gift for your wife or your spouse or your significant other, get her a gift certificate to Diva Lore Medical Wellness. Same thing. Easy. We had the guys from the Speakeasy in. They need face shit done. guys, don't be afraid to get yourself
hair
some shit.
restoration.
And hair restoration. I may need some hair restoration
I
at some
know.
point. But anyway, so Divalore at medicalwellness.com to book. She is the best.
She is the best. And she, just one quick note, she has that ZO skincare line. So
yeah, that's what I'm using.
Even if you're not in Fort Worth, she'll tell you what you need. And we're both
Yep.
using it. And I feel like we can
So
see a
great.
big difference
Yeah,
with that
it's
skincare
awesome.
line, and she'll mail it to you.
Okay, so Rangers news. I signed my contract today.
Yay! Is this breaking? Breaking news
It is.
right here on the Mom
Breaking
Game.
news.
Emily's not done yet. She's not
I'm not done
yet.
look at why.
Don't worry about your hair. Jesus.
I know. Well, I don't. If you would switch me, or if we could move that
Too late.
monitor
It's
over
not
there.
happening. You just need to figure this out.
So yes, signed my contract today. Another year. This will be my 10th season working for the Rangers. My 19th season covering the Rangers.
Wow. 10 season for the
working
Rangers.
for-
That's a nice round number.
It is. So, I do yearly contracts. I go year to year, 1 year deals every year. And so I always wonder, like, are they ready to kind of move on from me? Am I ready to move on from, you just have those conversations because I do 1 year deals. It's happened, for the last
It's a good
10
way
years.
to do it.
Yeah. And, the biggest not change, but it is a change. I mean, I went from working 110 games a few years ago, and then now I'm down to 80.
Okay.
So you're talking about over the last probably 4 or 5 years, it's 30 games less.
Yeah. But 80
And
games
it's-
of Emily is way better than no
Well,
games of Emily.
it's also, it helps. Honestly, it's encouraging me to stay longer.
yeah.
Because the burnout's not happening. It's not, I don't feel as spread thin. I'm super grateful to the organization for being flexible with me and kind of accommodating my life as a working mom outside of baseball.
Yeah.
And I'm super, super grateful for John Blake, who I told you I had a meeting with, and we have an interesting relationship. It's been kind of, up and down over the years. It took a while for us to really get to know each other. He's a bit of he is a baseball savant. He is his reputation in this game is very well known, and his temperament is very well known. And so the back and forths with him over the last 20 years have been interesting.
Yeah.
But we finally, I think, reached a really good point in our personal and professional relationship to where we have a good understanding of each other. And so I'm grateful to him for being very mindful of my family and my family situation and wanting to bring me back and accommodating me. And so I will be back for 2023.
Yay, Emily.
Yeah, 80 games, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like,
Yeah.
Henry was even like, 80? What about 81? That's half the season. I'm like, well, 80 is a good round number. So that's where we are.
And it's a lot. It's less, but it's still a lot. Like that's a
Oh,
full
it's still a
hockey
lot.
season.
It's still a lot. It's still a lot. So yeah, we're
that'll
excited.
be good. Road games too. Some.
So it's 68 and 12, 68 home games, 12 road games. Yeah. So, before road games were like 25 to 30.
And that
So it
seemed
cuts
like
it
this
in half.
past year, that was probably the hardest for you was
So-
the road
So I'm
trips.
super stoked. I'm
Yeah.
excited. So thanks to the Rangers for bringing me back. And
Thanks, Rangers.
I'm excited for
Thanks
another
for working
season.
with our girl.
I know.
That'll be great. There's a whole lot of Rangers fans that will be very happy with that news because
Yeah.
it would be weird to
Well,
watch a game
thank you.
without you.
You're very
I don't know
sweet.
that I'd even watch.
Okay. Just
I need
saying.
you on there.
Okay. So it's time for our guest,
Yes.
John Daniels, which we've discussed. I'm so excited to have him. He is brought to us by our friends at Bottle Rover.
Yes, our friends at Bottle Rover.
We love Bottle Rover.
With the holidays coming up, if you're like me, you've got it's only 1 or 2 weeks away where I'm gonna have a bunch of family in town and company staying at my house. And so,
From Canada?
yeah, I've got
was a
people from Canada.
terrible Canadian accent.
It wasn't Canadian at all. But yeah, so you can get ahead of the game. And as you're like planning out your presents and what you're going to do for the holidays, you can hop on the Bottle Rover app and plan when you're going to want and need that alcohol delivery. While we're talking about presents, you could also just order a few things and have them on hand to bring to all of your holiday parties. Or if you're looking for something to bring your husband or your wife. Order it all on Bottle Rover. We love our friends at Bottle Rover. You can save time and gas getting your drinks delivered for free with Bottle Rover. And once you hit a $50 minimum order, which is super easy to do, that delivery fee is wiped out and they will just come to your door for free, for nothing. So whatever it is that you're looking for, that you're going to need some bevies for, Bottle Rover is there for you. Like I mentioned, hosting, gifting, whatever it is. We don't have time to go to the liquor store. We just don't. So utilize Bottle Rover. They're here for you. They go to local liquor stores near you, and they can find whatever it is that you're looking for. So thank you to our friends at Bottle Rover for continuing to work with us here on the Mom Game. And if you do use Bottle Rover, show us, tweet us, post it on the Instagram.
Yeah.
That you're using them.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Show us that Bottle
Yes.
Rover love. Show us the Early Bird love. Show us the Noble Vines love. Show us
all
the
the love, please.
Gateway love. Go
We'll be
buy a
so
car.
proud of you.
Yeah.
Go buy
show
a car.
us.
And yes, at that same note, we are going to head over now to our special guest for the day.
And here he is. So excited to have him here on the Mom Game. We've been trying to get him for a while. You have been refusing my invitations, but you finally gave in. John Daniels, thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you both for having me.
Are you nervous, excited? How many podcasts have you done over the years?
This is definitely less than 5.
Less
I
than
would say.
5?
Yeah. I haven't been big on the podcast circuit.
Okay, well, I need you to come up. Yep.
Sorry. So you can tell my inexperience right there.
Little closer to the mic. And this is your first time publicly speaking since you left the Rangers.
And I have got some bridges to burn.
I know.
Let's
you
do it. Let's do it. Pour a
Here
glass.
we go.
No, I'm obviously kidding there. But yeah, no, I've kind of stayed out of the, intentionally stayed out of the spotlight. And not that I had that many demands for my time, but yeah, just been home and enjoying it.
Okay, so we'll get to the Rangers and baseball and all that stuff as we continue on during our time. But I want to start kind of in the beginning because you were one of the first people I met at the Rangers. I feel like we kind of grew up together within the organization. But before that, just your background, where you grew up, your family situation, and kind of what led you to this game and making a career in it.
Sure. So grew up in New York and Queens. My parents still live there. Went to high school in Manhattan. So kind of like got a little bit of a, kind of education just in 12, 13 years old, taking the subway into Manhattan, and you kind of,
That'll
head on
force
the
you to
swivel.
grow
You
up.
grow up a little bit. I always tell people I feel like I learned more from that than I did any class or school or anything like that. And then I went to college in also New York, upstate New York. Didn't play sports in college. Didn't, as you can tell by my physique, I'm very athletic, but so it's my choice only not to play. But
Right.
I was kind of like a big sports dork. Loved all of them growing up. Big, fan of the Mets, Giants, Knicks, Rangers at the time. But there weren't like, at least I wasn't aware, there were no Theo Epsteins. I mean, Brian Cashman, Dave Dombrowski, some of the younger executives in baseball, but it didn't feel realistic at the time. In school, one of my roommates was AJ Preller. You guys know AJ.
I know AJ.
Now running the Padres. And AJ was a lot more focused and thought it was possible to get into baseball. And so, there would be times you go out to the bars.
Wait, AJ was focused on.
Yeah, I know, laser focused. No, but you'd go out to, we'd go out to the bars and come home at whatever, we'd be eating pizza or whatever at 2, 3 in the morning. You're like, where did AJ go? And you go upstairs and he's, in his room, and he'd be literally 2, 3 in the morning charting the Yankees game.
Wow.
He had taped it from the night before, and he was really focused on it. So he ended up getting a job. He got an internship with the Fall League, and then got a job with Major League Baseball under Frank Robinson. And I was working for a company in Allied Domecq, parent company Dunkin' Donuts. I was working. That's where I met Robin. Working there in Boston, and I was probably more focused on talking with AJ about his job than I was, on my own. My bosses were awesome. They were really understanding. They were sports fans too, so they kind of let me have a lot of time to talk to him. So I went with him to the winter meetings in '99 in Anaheim, and then in 2000 here in Dallas, and ended up meeting a bunch of people. And I remember thinking well, why don't I try to get my foot in the door? And met some of the Rockies executives, Josh Burns, who's with the Dodgers now, but he's been a GM too, and that led to an internship with the Rockies in '01, and that led to a referral to an interview with John Hart and the Rangers when he got the job in '02, and so I moved down here in January of '02. Thought I'd be here for a year or two, and next thing I know, it's been 21 years, and I have 3 native Texan kids. So
Yes.
there you go.
You're how old at the time? So when you
When I moved down
internship with the Rockies is one thing, like that's cool. A lot of kids right out of college get
Sure.
those, but then you get the job with the Rangers. That was a little more serious, right? And how old are you at that time?
Yeah, so I was 24.
Okay.
When I moved down here, or when I got the job with the Rangers, and again, I was committed at that point to making it a career. I remember I had to lie to my dad and tell him how much the Rangers were paying me because I was still making less than when I was in Boston, and he was
At Dunkin' Donuts, and you don't get
Dunkin'
free
Donuts.
donuts all the
Exactly.
time.
ridiculous.
Free baseball though.
Yeah, that's right. And so at the time I was committed to it, but you're 24, you don't know what you're doing or what your long term looks like, and but it was just fun. I mean, it was 24/7. Robin moved down here with me. We'd done the year. I was in Colorado. She's from outside of LA, so she went and spent the year in California with her friends. They lived in Newport and had a blast. So when I moved down here, she moved down with me. And,
So were y'all married before?
No, we were living in sin.
Living in
at
sin.
at that point, much to her mom's.
Demise.
Yeah, she was not happy about it.
Chagrin, demise.
Chagrin, that's
Demise
right.
is not good. Okay,
chagrin
sorry.
was the word.
Yeah.
And so we lived in an apartment in Arlington there on Green Oaks, and I was at the ballpark, 24/7, 365, and anyway, she was talking about this the other day because I was very close with AJ, and so at 1 in the morning, AJ would call because he was with the Dodgers at that time, and so he would call, and then I'd talk with him till whatever time and do it over the next day, and then in the Rangers at the time were there was a lot of when Tom Hicks hired John Hart, he also hired Grady Fuson, and Dan O'Brien was here from the prior regime, and it was like a little bit of a all great executives, great people. It was a little bit of a forced marriage in terms of how the setup was, and so it wasn't really cohesive in terms of the management team. That was the downside for the organization. The great part for me was it created a lot of opportunity. John, for whatever reason, took a liking to me and trusted me, and so here I was at 24, then 25 years old, being put in situations I probably didn't really deserve to be in, quite honestly. But he trusted me, and so one thing led to another, and next thing I know, he's coming to my office and saying, "Hey, have you negotiated a major league contract?" And I'm like, "Well, I've only worked for you, so you should know that."
Right.
I haven't. And he said, "Well, can you do it?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "All right, well, Hank Blaylock's extension, go get it."
Wow.
Yeah, I remember Eric Goldschmidt was his agent at the time, and at my office right down from John. So I called Eric Goldschmidt, started the conversation, and I heard maybe 10 minutes later, I heard Eric Goldschmidt on speakerphone in John's office. So I'm listening in, and basically he was calling John. He's like, "Who the hell is this kid that just called me to try to negotiate a contract for you?" And
Yeah.
I mean, it was but it was baptism by fire, learning, just thrown into it. It was great in hindsight. Ton of opportunity, kind of moved faster than I probably deserved, like I said. And then John stepped down at the end of the '05 season. And I remember we had a meeting at Tom Hicks' office with John, I think Buck, Oral, Dom Cheedy, myself. And at the end of the meeting, John was just like, "Hey, JD, great job in there. Great job. Thanks for everything. I'll see you." It was more than I remember walking out and thinking that was a little dramatic, and
There was something there.
and I got back to the office, and I had an email from Tom Hicks, and he said, "JD, why don't you cancel your plans tomorrow? Come and be in my or call me when you get back to the office." I called him, and he said, "Hey, I want you to cancel your plans tomorrow. I want you to come in the office and talk." I said, "Well, anything I should prepare for?" He said, "Yeah, be prepared to talk about the future of the franchise." I was like,
All right.
How old are you at this time?
28.
Oh my gosh.
28, and so I'm like, I don't sleep that night. I spoke to John actually before I called Tom, and he told me he'd stepped down. He'd recommended me, and I was thinking I was supposed to meet Dom and AJ in the Dominican. We were building a new complex down there with Solomon Torres, and so he was like, "I cancel your flight, and you're not doing that." And it was just it was something that first press conference when they announced me. Like I've never watched it because I remember feeling awkward doing it. Not that I'm like not awkward now, but like I was like 10x awkward then.
Yeah.
And I've never watched it. I'm like I know it just must have just been brutal.
So you didn't see at that point. So the job with the Rangers, was it an internship or was it a job?
It was full time. That was like my first full-time
and then
job.
4 years later, after your first full-time job
Yeah.
In baseball.
They're announcing you as a general manager of a team.
Yeah.
Like, did that surprise even you? Because it sounds like you were a very driven person and you had your sights set on probably something like this. But did it surprise even you how quickly it happened?
Oh, totally. I mean, it still surprised me now.
Yeah.
You know? And but at the time, I remember. So Tom, in the interview, just the two of us in his office, and you know, I've got my suit on. I look like the bar mitzvah boy or whatever.
Yeah.
And Tom, like maybe 20, 30 minutes into the conversation, the tone like of his questions are less like hypothetical. It's less of like, what would you say we would do if, and then it became like, all right, so now what are we gonna do, and what are we doing about this, and I'm thinking to myself like, is he talking to me as though like we're actually planning this out? Is it still an interview? And probably an hour and a half later, he'd offered me the job.
Wow.
And I said to him, I was like, hey man, it's like you're assistant GM. I feel some level of obligation to recommend that you talk to somebody else. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to turn it down, but
Yeah.
and he said, no, I want to offer you the job. And so,
And the rest is history.
yeah. So can I call my dad, and my wife?
Yeah.
Can I call my dad, please?
That's amazing. It truly is amazing.
But at that time, that was kind of the start of the, as you said, like the self-proclaimed sports nerd.
Yeah.
Kind of starting to infiltrate, and maybe that's not the right word, but kind of make their way into those front office positions. And we started seeing more of it. That was kind of the front end of it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Theo was, definitely, so Theo got the job 3 years before me. And then, in 2003, they go to the ALCS, the famous, I'm drawing a blank now, but they lose
The comeback.
Yankees. It's Aaron Boone
Grand
Slam off Wakefield in 2003, and they're on the verge. They it keeps Pedro maybe arguably a little long, and then in 2004 they win the World Series. So the Red Sox had huge success right away under Theo, and if he doesn't have success in that role, like I don't know if I'm if I get the job, right? Because it became like a little bit of I fit the kind of a few of the demographics, the mold that Theo had kind of paved, and so and I'd been there, and they knew me, and from at least from a character trust standpoint, right? And but there's no doubt like that was on the front end, but Theo, and then Cash and Dombrowski like before that, a little bit different, but I feel like that was the young group, and then then Andrew Friedman got hired like that same hiring cycle, and then obviously a lot of others since.
So at that time, you were the youngest GM in baseball history.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah, and too, like to talk a little bit about your family life, and we'll get to that later as well. But your wife Robin is she's a very private person. She's relatively, I mean, at least what I've been around, I'm sure around you guys and around her close friends, she's different, but she's a very reserved person. This is a very, very public job that comes with a lot of public scrutiny, a lot of public things.
Yeah.
Did she understand the gravity of this position when you took the job? And did she at any point think you were crazy for saying yes to it?
No, I don't think she ever thought I was crazy for saying yes to it. I mean, listen, you're 20 years old, you've got student debt, we've credit card debt, you're offered more money than,
it's a wonderful
like
opportunity.
A 3-year deal in this dream job. Like, oh, no, thank you.
I don't want to do press conferences.
Yeah, exactly. I'll figure out how to navigate some of the tougher spots. But, so early on, so when she's not a big sports fan, which I think has helped our relationship tremendously. I mean, we've all seen like some of the, whether it's executives or athletes have spouses that are like really into it, and like sometimes it's a good thing. I feel like a lot of times it can be a real challenge in both their relationship and also like interacting with others. That was a major help for us because I would be like able to go home and turn it off a little bit. I mean, with the phone you can't totally turn it off, but she, it's not like Robin was sitting there saying like, can you believe they, left so-and-so reliever in, or, why'd you send that guy down? It wasn't like, there was never anything like that. Early on, she really struggled with some, like, just the public nature of and the criticism, right? And she told me like years later that she had like created some like fake, I don't know, like
like a
burner.
Facebook account,
like a burner account on like one of these, I think
you?
on like Lone Star Ball or one of the local blogs, and to defend me with some funny name, but then she realized that was like that was
I
a
used
dead
to have
end.
so when I was in Lubbock and I used to get ripped, and I had some guy friends that would do the same thing and defend me, and then they thought it was me, and I'm like, guys, you just please stop. I'm good. I got this.
Right.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
So well, it's like Billy Bean told me this thing that I share the story and I kind of live by it. But I remember it was like 2 years in, 3 years in, and he's like, "Hey, what stage are you at with the media?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What stage are you at?" And he's like, "Well, when you first get the job, it's flattering. Your mom's cutting stuff out of the newspaper. Your friends back home see your name on ESPN. Your name in lights. It's really awesome. You're like." You haven't done anything wrong yet, so it's all positive, and it's awesome, and it's exciting, and so you read everything. And then you start to make some like mistakes and some bonehead moves, and and like you get crushed, and now you tell everyone you're not reading it, but you're still reading all of it, and it's just like it's like
how can you not?
Painful,
right?
but how do you not? And then it's somewhere along the way you like I don't know what triggers it, but you genuinely stop caring. And you stop, like, I shouldn't say stop caring, but you stop letting it bother you. You understand the media's role. You understand the fans are fans. That's why we have these jobs. That's why sports is this huge industry. And like, and as long as it doesn't get personal, you more or less tune it out. And so I think that was like, so Rob, like, I think I had to go through that, and she had to go through that too, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of that understanding of like, hey, it is what it is. And then, I've got kids, I've got 2 teenagers and my youngest 11, and they're going through it too. And they, when I got fired, they, kind of was like, a little more real example that kind of live it. But it's been interesting how we've all kind of like had that similar progression of like living a little bit in the spotlight.
Yeah. And then to get the job at that age, at 28, how much did you feel like you were? I mean, I'm sure there was something in you that always felt like you were trying to prove yourself or prove that you deserved it at that age and that they made the right decision. And then obviously you did prove yourself. But is that something that you always kind of were thinking about or felt along the way? Like just trying to prove that you could do it at that age, and did that follow you throughout the career at all mentally?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, first of all, I think it's really healthy.
Yeah.
Like, I think that like some of those external motivators are really like positive.
See with athletes all the time, right? And that's
Totally,
why they are
right?
so good at what they do.
And they can be like quick burning, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they could be, guys say I have a chip in my shoulder, or the bulletin board material, type, from like a football type mindset. And it's kind of a quick burn.
Yeah.
You don't want to rely on that. You have to be self-driven, obviously, no matter what you do. But there is, all like any of that kind of external, the doubt, the pressure, I think the accountability of the fans, accountability from ownership or team president or something that's like pushing you at, when all the multiple owners and working for Nolan, like ultimately those things are really positive for me. I think like the accountability and the pressure that comes with that. I don't know how much. Like to your point, your question, I'm not sure how much of it is like was specific to my age. I felt that more. Less in the role and less like here in the market. I felt that more. I'd go to the GM meetings and I'd look around and be like, I'm 15 years younger than a lot of these guys, and so it was more like kind of like socially
right
with that group. But there's no doubt that like pressure fuels you a little bit.
When you say that, like that you look around and feel it more, it almost reminds me of like being one of the few women in a locker room or something. Like you don't feel it, but then when you go in and you look around and you're like, I'm a little bit different. I need to try and really raise my game and make sure I'm always asking the best question, that kind of thing. That's what that just reminds me of a little bit.
Yeah, I would think you guys have it like it's a bigger challenge than what I went through, but some parallels, sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Theo Epstein and kind of him being the a little bit of the mold of this, kind of change in the way front offices are constructed, not across baseball, but a lot of baseball. Did you have that conversation with him earlier? What is y'all's relationship like? just knowing that you did kind of view him as the one who kind of, I don't know, cleared this path?
Yeah, I mean, among others, Theo and I have always had a good relationship. We're, friendly. We're not like super close. We definitely would saw each other now, would stop and catch up and things like that. But there are, and whether it's Theo or I'm in Cash with New York, or other guys like Andrew Friedman who got the job at the same time and kind of we competed against each other when he was with Tampa. Josh Burns, who I mentioned earlier, Thad, Levine. So Theo certainly went through it as the Cash did, before I did, and so but I feel like when you're competing against these guys, there wasn't. There wasn't
a lot of warm fuzzies.
Exactly. It wasn't a lot of like time to like stop. We would like share notes over, how you handle certain things, or if it was negotiating your own contract, or ownership change, how'd you deal with it, or anything you're looking at, or certainly when we went everything with COVID and summer of 2020, you kind of share operational notes or things like that. But there wasn't a lot of like active mentoring or anything like that.
Right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so going back to putting yourself back in that place when you first got the job, could you imagine everything that evolved? Could you imagine at that point 17 seasons with an organization, overseeing all of the things that you did, making the giant decisions that you did? At that point, could you ever imagine it unfolding the way that it did for you?
No. In a word, no. I mean, I just got this advisory role with Tampa and was talking to one of their guys about it, and he said hey, one of the things that like appealed to us about, I mean, they do an amazing job, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm coming in there and they don't need me, but one of the things he said, he goes, hey, you've experienced a lot of things that as a young executive group we haven't experienced yet, and so we started, whether it's ownership change, a bankruptcy, like some players with crazy situations, like the coming so close in 11, and have everything with that we've had
a lot,
a million different things, and building a new stadium, building a Dominican complex, all these things that like go on, and so like as I'm that conversation with him, I was like, holy cow! Like
now you're the old guy.
You're like, well, yeah, I'm the old guy that's done a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, because when you're in the trenches,
really
you're not reflecting much, right? You're like,
Totally.
I got to get through this day, I got to get through this project, I got to deal with this player, and then all of a sudden, 17 seasons has passed,
right?
And it's a lot to look back on, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, how did you construct that staff? I mean, obviously, I would assume AJ was hire number one. How did you construct that staff?
Yeah, and
your first, like when you first got the job.
So I got promoted to assistant GM in I think it was 2004, and John basically said, hey, you could bring on one person, and so we hired AJ at that point, brought him over from the Dodgers, and he was running international scouting. He'd always he did like a senior thesis in college on. I interviewed Omar Minaya and did it on like the development of Dominican players. It was a real passion of his, and really he kind of revolutionized how scouting and how the whole acquisition process in the Dominican and Caribbean in general has been done. So AJ came over there, and then and Don Welke came with him, coach came with him, and then when I got the job, we promoted AJ again, and Thad was one of the first hires that we made. And so,
where did Thad Levine come from?
So he was still with Colorado.
Okay.
So he had been in Colorado probably I don't know.
And that's where
99.
you met Thad?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I did my internship, Thad basically trained me. He was the director of baseball ops, and he kind of took me under his wing, and he helped me a ton. That Colorado group was unbelievably talented. Dan O'Dowd was the GM, now on the network. Michael Hill was the farm director. He's out the league. Has been the GM. Josh Burns was the assistant GM. He's been a GM. Thad was director of baseball ops. He's been a GM. Billy Epler was one of the scouts. He's a GM. Jerry DePoto was special assistant. He's a GM. Scott Service was there. He's a big league manager. Clint Hurdle. I mean, it was crazy how many what a talented group. Matt Klentak's been a GM. He was the intern after me. It was just this. I don't know a case study on it, why there was so much front office talent there. But so we hired Thad from Colorado. He's the assistant GM, and then the group of us interviewed for a farm director. We ended up hiring Scott Service, the farm director. And then, a year later, we had made a change with the manager. We brought Wash on. We just, kind of slowly, Josh Boyd came over. He was with the Padres at the time. Mike Daly, I think, came over, I forget the timeline, but right around the same time. And then after '08, we hired Maddox, and, you kind of slowly see the group come together.
Because I got here in August of '04, so I covered a little bit of '04, very, very tail end, and then '05, basically, from '05 on, I covered this team, and '05 that was, it wasn't like it was. I mean, you didn't take over a perennial contender that didn't have any S going on in the clubhouse. I mean, that thing was, it was pretty wheels off there for a little while.
Yeah.
What did you assess that? I mean, how do you address that and assess that in your mind as you're taking on this job?
So honestly, that was probably the thing that we did worst. I mean, we didn't really stop and do like enough of an assessment and say, we're not close right now. And because that's where we made some of our biggest mistakes, and we traded, made the trade with the Padres, CY and Adrian Gonzalez, and that trade is like bad on 12 different ways, but it was especially bad because we weren't close enough to be trading for guys that, with short amount of control, and Otska and in Eaton. And obviously Otska gets hurt, and Eaton didn't have a good year. But that was like our biggest mistake, is we didn't step back and put a comprehensive plan together and really assess where we were. So I was aware like that we had some issues. We had, both on and off, talent wise, and also in just how we were constructed, and to your point, someone in the clubhouse. And I think after that, it was like, all right, like let's really take a step back. And so it was after the '06 season where we made a change with the manager. And then at that time, we didn't go full rebuild after the '06 season. Sorry, I gotta get closer here. We didn't go full rebuild after the '06 season, but it was like, I remember talking about it, that hey, if things don't get off to a good start, probably have to go that way. And we talked to Tom Hicks about it. Now, we got to a disaster of a start in '07. The team was not good to begin with. It shouldn't have surprised anybody. And media is like calling for my head, and understandably so. We weren't good, and there were, we hadn't made a lot of great moves. And we went into Tom and said, listen, like, this is what I recommend that we do, is like, we need to trade Mark Teixeira. We need to do like a true rebuild, and really want to invest heavily in kind of on the amateur side, both domestic and international, and focus there. And Tom said to me, he goes, listen, like, right now the media is kind of calling for me to fire you. And he said, I'm not going to do that. And he said, I'm going to extend your contract. Let's go ahead and do this rebuild. I believe in what you're doing. He said, but I want you to have when people make deals with you, I want you to know that, I want them to know you have my support, and that you have like contractual security. I mean, I was blown away.
Wow.
And Tom, we were up in his office at the Crescent at the time, and he showed me a list of, like, he had this display of all like these companies that he's invested in over time, and there were a lot of companies I hadn't heard of. And then at the top, there were, some of the ones that he had done really well on, Clear Channel and Dr. Pepper and whatever else. And he said, he goes, listen, like, all these like companies here, like, some have been okay, some have not been, but he goes, like, I never stopped like taking my shot. I never stopped like making deals and believing in the process and believing in our people and doing what we thought we'd do. And he goes, that's what I want you to, he's like, don't stop taking your shots.
Wow.
Like, don't. And it was like, it really blew me away. Like, somebody had this amount of faith in me and our group, not just myself, that we hadn't really demonstrated a whole lot on the field. Certainly didn't have results. And he was saying, hey, like, don't stop, like, keep going. And really, like, thankfully we executed well at that point. But I mean, at that point, he didn't have a whole lot to grasp onto.
Yeah.
Speaking of the shot, I mean, like, one of the biggest shots was Ron Washington. I mean, to bring Wash in, it's not like he was some proven manager that was super well polished, and you know what I mean? I mean, Wash was Wash. He wasn't going to change. He wasn't going to, that took some big ones to take that chance on Ron Washington, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I fully grasped that at that time. I mean, obviously he, Wash it, like you said, Wash is Wash, and like, he's awesome.
Oh, he's so great. I
And
love him
he's
so much.
he's so genuine and like and everything about him.
Unapologetically so.
Yeah, and it's great. And he's become this like, every person in the media loves him, and every player loves him, and everybody who's been around him loves him. But at the time, he was a little bit of a little less known quantity for sure, right? And we competed against him with him being in Oakland, and the Eric Chavez and Jason John being to hot, and the way these guys all talked about him, they loved him, and obviously like he worked his butt off. You could see that every day, and the unbelievable energy and like this confidence, this like just this aura that he like puts out, and it's real. But you're right, like I didn't, it wasn't like Wash is not super like, the X's and P's and Q's and everything like that. If you're looking for that, like,
You're looking for a safe, traditional manager. That's not Ron Washington.
right. So we went
Which
into
it would be easy for a group like yours to want to cling to a safe, established
for sure.
manager with skins on the walls and a track record.
And so, yeah, and or like somebody like us, right? Like a younger, like
Right.
somebody that we, had a similar background, or that, kind of use the same lingo. Or, I think that would have been just as easy. And Don Welke, I give Coach a lot of credit. He like really pounded the table. We all loved him. It's you sit down for dinner with the guy, like you're like instantly drawn in, and every recommendation was good. But here he was in Oakland, and he'd been there for a long time, and they'd changed managers several times, and he hadn't gotten the job. And you're like, what are we missing, right?
Yeah.
Why hasn't he had this opportunity with them? And they've been a good club, but Welke, the coach, really like pounded the table for him, and he went down. Wash came up and interviewed here, and then Don went down to New Orleans and like met him at his house, and Wash took him out to whatever local spot and had kind of local fare, and Don came back, was like, this is like I remember him saying, he goes, this is a real baseball guy, like this is who we need. And we had further conversation, but Wash came back up. He met with Tom Hicks. I think we had Wash, Trey Hillman, and Don Wakamatsu all kind of came in and had like a final round interviews, and we made the right call. We hired Wash.
I remember him telling the story about, JD came pick me up at the airport. The GM came pick me up at the airport. That's when I knew. And I was like, oh, God, I love you, Wash. Yeah, but that, like, you made an impression. You made an impression on him as well. And he felt like this was, the right fit. And obviously it turned out to
That's what I
definitely
always
be it.
loved about him, is that like, we have such different backgrounds and everything. Right? Like whether he played, I didn't play, New York, New Orleans, the whole deal, right? And but we always like, there was always like some common thread there. But it was, I think it was just respect and kind of like, I didn't. That's not why I went to pick. I pick everybody up at the airport. Like as a manager, I was like, hey, it's, big
Right.
manager. We're gonna we're not gonna make you take a cab or send an intern. Like, I'll pick you up. But I remember he said that on the drive home, to the ballpark, and obviously he's told that story since.
Yeah. Love him.
When you look kind of at your body of work, like just to go a little bit more big picture with it, what would you say was the biggest challenge for you in the job, and then maybe your biggest like personal victory, something that you just felt really good about, whether it was a decision you made, a season, or whatever it was? How would you maybe classify the biggest challenge and the biggest victory?
I think the biggest challenge was like very loyal. Like I'm like by nature, like I really like believe in people and want to like develop people and stay with people. And I think there's a way that we could have innovated more and like been ahead of the curve a little bit more. And so I think we stuck to our playbook a little bit too long. And when the league was adjusting and we didn't adjust quick enough, some of that I think was that I was probably hesitant to make some changes people wise. But I think there's a way to do without that. And I don't think I recognized that early enough. Whether it was R&D or whether I think. We talked about like rebuilding sooner, and we probably after we talked about it as soon as like after 2016 we won the division back-to-back years, but like our underlying numbers, I really didn't support that club, that being quite as good. but we were in the process of getting a new stadium. We just got the vote passed. We got a $500 million public subsidy for it was like, it would have been a tough message at the time. And so that was probably my biggest challenge is just not maybe making some of those changes soon enough and both kind of big picture and then also like where we're focused.
Obviously, the runs and that run. I mean, it wasn't. 09 super close, and then 10 and 11, even 12. I mean, such a magical run, especially following along with a pretty up close view as to where this thing came from and seeing it, through bankruptcy and then get to the top. One strike away. And then are you able to? I feel like at that point in time, you were so intense, and rightfully so. Were you able to enjoy that process and the kind of the fruits of your labor, not just you, but you guys as a whole, as a front office? I mean, I think about Oakland in 2010 when we clinched.
That's the story I was going to go to right there.
It's my favorite. Yeah. It's my people ask, what's your favorite memory? I'm like, it's not A-Rod striking out looking against Naftali Feliz. It's not that. It's Oakland in 2010. It's hands down my favorite memory.
Who was drunker, you or me?
It was probably, it's a tie. It's a tie. And it's a tie, which there's probably like 30 others that are tied with us.
So that was, when you said that, that's where my head was that there were times that we did. I mean, that moment in 10, bankruptcy and after rebuild and like a low payroll and, ownership change and everything that had gone on. And then to have guys like Michael and Kins that had kind of been there through it and it was unique, right? It was the entire travel party.
It was crazy.
We took over that bar.
But you know what? As drunk as we were, you said to me, "It will never be like this again." You recognized it.
He knew it in the moment.
You said, "It will never be like this again."
It was the first time, and there was like this innocence about all of us, right? That it was like amazing. And I remember playing beer pong with Colby. And,
oh my gosh!
All these
I
guys
freaking
there.
crushed Dustin Nippert in beer pong.
And it was a black. By the way, I have no idea where that bar is, like, or where we were.
But wasn't it Brandon McCarthy? I think Brandon McCarthy.
Was it Mac took us there?
I think so. I think he's the one that like rented it out. From what my hazy recollection of things.
It was a
right. Was it?
Yeah, Mac was there. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so it was so much fun, and then then like real life takes over and business decisions and I like decisions like with Elvis and Michael, how that affected him. He and I have talked. We're close now. We talked a ton about it, and I regret how that was handled. And then the belch rate when Adrian comes on, and Michael ultimately handles it unbelievably well and wraps his arm around Adrian, wraps around Napoli, and makes the team better. But there were some like fractures there, and like it was never like quite like that again, right? And not to say we didn't have great times and have fun, but like you were reminded of that, like, okay, this isn't like it, as much as we want it to be a family. There's also a business side to it, and like. Yeah, I felt like that took away from it a little bit. There were plenty of other times we had a blast. We, as a front office group, like we made a point, at least one night in spring training, we'd go out and kind of go big one night and do a variety of things. And we try to travel and do some fun stuff and meetings and offsites and in the playoffs we would always try to make sure we had some time, and because you have to try to enjoy these things, but. It was never quite as like pure as it was that time.
Yeah, it was so amazing. Another thing like that sticks out that I feel like with me, like I've got a 25-year career in broadcasting, and the thing I get asked most about is the Powerade showers. Like that's what. You're the Powerade, and I'm like, fuck, like. I've been doing this shit for such a long time, and that's what it's come down to. But whatever. And then you get, when Nolan was here. Everything was fine until Nolan left, and you have the whole Nolan versus JD thing that got really sticky. And I feel like, and I know it wasn't daffodils and roses, but I also too know that it wasn't as much of a thing as maybe people on the outside think as far as. And listen, I love the culture that Nolan instilled in that organization. And I tell the story all the time about when I was pregnant and I was lowering myself into the camera well, which was at that time in the old ballpark right next to Nolan's suite.
They built the
And he saw me, and the next homestand, Nolan had made a gate, so I didn't have to do that. Like little things like that. Nolan Ryan is a fucking stud.
No doubt.
And I don't think anyone would doubt that. And the culture that he established within that organization was legit. But I don't think people understand the fact that it wasn't like that. I don't know. I just feel like maybe sometimes people have a misconception about just how involved he was in the day-to-day operations on the baseball side of things, and why that wasn't, and was there not a power struggle, but that was never, like you said, it was a little bit of a forced marriage that maybe
Yeah. What was your perspective of
yeah.
it?
So first on the culture side, and like, you know, my experience with Nolan as like just a human and a quality human being, like as advertised and everything you just said, and then some. I mean, the company parties. Not, I don't want to minimize it either. Like, but like the company parties were like it was a family holiday party.
Yeah.
Like it was fun.
Goes
it
a
was
long
like,
way.
And I mean, I don't know for a fact. I think he was like putting his personal like money in to buy like. Like your door prize wasn't like, you know, like a Ranger sticker. It was like a 50-inch like flat screen to
Right.
take home. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, it was a big deal to a lot of people, and it was fun, and it meant a lot. And he and Ruth threw like, you know, for a smaller group through like big, you know, parties, and you know, he did a lot to create this atmosphere of like family. And then we went through bankruptcy, and it was a scary time for a lot. No, bankruptcy companies, but what does that mean?
Yeah, it
like
sounds
ownership change, and like who, you know. And so I think Nolan being there was like a steady hand, and like the fact that he didn't bail, right? He didn't like say, hey, I'm jumping off the ship. Like gave a lot of people confidence. And I mean, there are a million stories behind the scenes of things he did for people, like, you know, the gate when you were pregnant. I mean, that's just an example, but there were a lot of things like that. He really led with like compassion and empathy, and people enjoyed being there and being part of it. You know, so it was never as bad as I think the public was led to believe. And not to say that we didn't disagree, but like we talked about earlier, like some of the pressures in the account, I think it was good to like have some disagreements, you know, on the kind of the iron sharpens iron type, you know, cliche, right?
Yeah.
Of like you challenge
from
each
those
other, you
things.
push it, you grow, and the organization's better for it. There were a couple of things where we disagreed on like personnel matters, but not many. Like there were not many examples of like where, you know, Nolan wanted player A and I wanted player B. I mean, certainly that happened from time to time. We would talk through it and work through it as a group, but that it was never that. There were, you know, a few times where Nolan wanted like to kind of hire people that he knew, and you know, it was on staff that I worked with directly, and I was generally fine with that. But it was specific positions where I had people that I felt like had worked their way up, or, you know, were better fits, and that was probably like if there was any sort of
conflict
or
tension.
friction like that, it was more on that piece of it. And then I think some of it too was like this idea of like credit for our success as a group, and like, you know, it was like the and I hate saying the media because I love so many people in the media, but like just this global kind of idea that like people had to assign credit or assign blame, and it was like there were so many of us working on this like every night, 24/7, 365, that like we weren't really concerned with that, but I felt like it became like a little bit of like it got out of hand almost, you know, and it was like, and I found out way after the fact that some people that I trusted maybe said some things that reflected poorly on, you know, maybe they were worried about who was getting credit, and like, so by extension, they were, you know, extensions of me, and it looked like all that stuff, like water under the bridge. Like I have a ton of respect for them, and you know, I've had a chance to see him a couple times here over the last few years at the ballpark for different things, and but yeah, I regret that it like became this story because it took away from all the awesome stuff that was going on the field too.
For sure. Yeah. So it, you know, obviously, you know, a ton of ups and downs, you know, with this organization, so many, you know, highlights that we've talked about. Definitely not all, good things. I just on a personal note, I noticed over the last couple of years that you were kind of getting to the point where you thought maybe it was a little, maybe starting to get to that point where it was time to start taking a step back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure taking a step back 6 weeks to go in the 2022 season was exactly what you had in mind. And now that some time has passed, how do you look back on and I hate, it's like, as your friend, I'm like, you got fired? Like, how do you look back on your firing?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like I've laughed because people are always like, I can tell when they're getting close to saying it, and they're like, do I say fire? Do I say let go? Do I say
left the organization.
Yeah, I'm like, I got shit canned. Dude. I got, call it what it is. You got fired.
I know, but I mean, I haven't gotten fired yet from a job, from like a grown up job. And so I think you hadn't either. And
No,
so
never had.
it doesn't matter, even because like I said, I think knowing you that this was kind of coming to where you wanted to start taking a step back, but it's also another thing when the girl breaks up with you before you break up with them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that Seinfeld where like Jerry and his girlfriend say like at the same time, I'm out. It's like the first truly mutual breakup, right? Doesn't really happen like that. I'd shared with you and I'd shared with a number of other people that like I was getting to that point. I mean, part of, when we hired CY, part of it was a succession plan. I mean, we had,
which a lot of people were like, oh, ooh. And I was like, wait, no, this is,
Yeah,
no one's happier about the hiring of Chris Young than John Daniels.
There was no
promise
palace.
She said that here.
Yes.
There was no palace intrigue like at that time, nor was there, even some of the speculation that, I thought it was unfair that CY like got now, or in August was like that. Did he push me? It was the farthest thing from the truth. I mean, he was blindsided by.
Well,
it.
I will say this: there was a part of me. I mean, I know CY. I covered him when he was here. I've known him for a long time, but I don't know him like I know you. And so there was part of me that's like, oh my gosh, is he coming in and just like run, like just like this is my team now, and I'm doing my own shit. And then I saw him the next day at the press conference where he had to talk because he couldn't even compose himself enough to talk the first day. And he was, he's a relatively unemotional guy, but that dude could not even keep it together. And I was like, okay, I was totally off base if that thought even crept into my head. This was in no way his idea, or in no way his doing.
So the irony, see, when I spent a lot of time together that weekend beforehand, because we ultimately made the decision to make a change it with manager. We let Woody go on Monday. And so, I had in the back of my mind, I had been like kind of stepping back. I told a number of friends and my family that like I was ready. Like there was some burnout going on.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing it for a long time, and like I thought it was time for the organization too. Like all the above. And so, I had told CY I was waiting and delaying and like, but at the draft, at trade deadline, like I deferred a little bit more than I had in the past, and I'm glad I did. And that Sunday, we were in CY's office, and I said, hey, man, I just want you to know before we do this with Woody, I said, I'm not going to say anything to Ray right now. Probably should have. He beat me to it, but like I said, I'm right now where my head is, I'm probably looking to step down at the end of the year. And like I said, listen, quite frankly, I think Ray probably he was ready for a change too. I get that sense and just some of his like body language and tone. But I said, I think I'm ready, and I would love to, stay on and some sort of advisor, help Ray, help the group. But I don't know if that's not totally my call. And see, I was like, dude, you're crazy. Like, stop talking like that. Like, he said, if you really want to,
going.
Yeah, he said, hey, if you need to like more time off, you need like I'll happily like we can structure however you want. But so we had that conversation on Sunday, and I said, listen, like let's we got a lot to do right now. Like let's address all this. And he was, we were like lockstep. So we do that Monday. On Tuesday afternoon, Ray called like a meeting with CY and I for Wednesday morning, which is kind of unusual because we have a staff meeting Wednesday morning. And so, went in and Ray asked CY just to give us a minute, and he let me go that morning. So the ultimate like impact of it, like big picture, was probably what I was looking for. you know, like you said, was I looking like I would have, you know, the timing and the messaging like wouldn't have been my choice, and certainly, you know, like nobody wants to get fired necessarily, but you know, priorities that way. We basically got out of there, said, you know, talked to John Blake and Joda real quick, hit the road, called Robin, called my parents, my brother, and, you know, was able to tell my kids before it hit social media. So, I mean, there was a ton of emotion that first week, you know, it's just like, you know, like you said, 17 years, and it's just like, you know, hard stop. But like once I kind of came out of that stretch, it's like, you know, like, wait a second, I can wear a hoodie and shorts every day. Like I can like pick my kids up and like try to give Robin a little bit of time that she's given so much to me for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And, like,
and I remember those texts with you like afterward, you're like, I'm just hanging out on the carpool line. This is the life, you know. And the first time I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, like where are those giant bags under your eyes?
I
Like
know.
you look so healthy and well rested, and you just look like, I don't know, you just look like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders. I'm not saying that this job was a burden, but it's a fucking lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's taken away from your family for a long time. And I remember after Richard Durrett died, you and I having the conversation, and you kind of had like a holy fuck moment of like, that dude was our age, and he
better
just
shape.
right.
Yeah.
And you know, I think you started, you know, again, speaking as your friend, that like, you know, you started to look at things a little differently. And it's been a slow process where you have like not started to recognize what all Robin has done and what all your kids have gone without as far as you as an active presence in their life at all times. But, you know, you kind of started to have those conversations with yourself and with your family. And this was just kind of part of the process. I mean, again, ending it the way that you did is not ideal, but also too, trying to stay friends with an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend is kind of difficult.
Totally. No, listen, you're 100% right. I you know, my kids are at an age and where it's awesome. Like it's, you know, it's time I want to be there, but it's also, it could be really tough, right? High school's like can be awesome, but it can be tough, and I want to be around. And like I'm fortunate, you know, I got a little bit of a test drive in 2020, right, when everyone was home for a period of time, and you know, you hear about so many relationships go one way or the other. I was fortunate that, like, for whatever reason, my family like still like, kind of liked me, you know, and like
they probably loved that time.
yeah, and it was great, and it was like, and so it was just a reminder of like, hey, like yes, these are dream jobs. Like I don't like they on a million different levels. I never want to like take anything away from it, but there is a trade off from a time standpoint, a commitment standpoint, and not just like when you're at the office. I mean, it's like anything else. You know, you're all glued to our phones, and like you're waiting for the next buzz, and it's like that. You know, all the you know, you're literally like addicted to it.
Your brain's
And
elsewhere.
Your brain's
most of the
elsewhere.
time.
You know, and
Yeah.
and Lincoln said something. My son's name is Lincoln. And
How old is Lincoln now?
he's almost 16. And
Crazy.
yeah, nuts. He's about to drive, right? And so we were talking one day, and I was like, what's been different for you besides the fact that I'm just around? And he said, he goes, you know what, like now when I ask you something, you answer me. And I was like, oh, just like dagger, you know, you're like, wait a second, that means that I didn't answer you beforehand,
Wow.
you know, and you're like, and I mean, our relationship's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
like, really grateful for that, you know, kids are resilient and all that stuff. But it was like, holy shit, like, all right, like I'm in a good spot now. You know, I'm kind of, you know, I still have bags under my eyes, but they're not quite as like dark as they were.
They're definitely not. They're definitely not as big, and definitely not as.
There were
dark.
times I could tell, like you would say something, you'd be like, "Hey, you doing all right?" And that was your way of saying, like, "You look like shit." It was like that was Emily's like gentle way of being like, "You look awful."
No,
she's good at
But
that.
I did
Yeah.
worry about you sometimes.
And
I did
she's
the
the
same thing
best.
with Cliff Kingsbury. Like I would be like Cliff, like when he was at Tech, and,
Yeah.
and well, I haven't checked on him in a while, a little bit. But I would be
Ask
like,
him how he and Kyler are
"Dude, you
doing."
need- seriously. But I'd be like, you need to eat like 2 burgers and change your number and go to Mexico or something. Like it's stressing me out. You're so skinny. You work too much. But like you notice things like that. And I think when you have a stressful job like that and you're pouring so much into it, it just takes so much out of you. And I could tell it was taking a toll on you physically, emotionally, mentally. But I'm just glad to see you. I'm glad to see you happy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I am genuinely happy.
I know. Okay, we got to ask about the new gig.
The new gig. You know?
Yeah,
I
because-
know this is so kind of weird. And it's almost like I've gotten used. You know, it's like when I first got here, it was like, you know, Michael and Ian and Mitch, and we're all going through life experiences together, and then all of a sudden I wake up and Derek Collins calling me mom in the clubhouse. And so you go through these evolution processes of where you like get sad about guys leaving and you're, and so players in my life have come and gone. I still have relationships with them, but I just don't see them, every day during the baseball season. For you, and I told you this in a conversation we had after the season, that this is like my first time doing my job without you in my corner, and it's it's
Emily was very
dicey.
rattled when this all happened. You were rattled.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's still,
it's weird.
Yeah, you're my dude. So it's just different.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm crying.
I didn't know we were going to cry here.
No.
Hey, it's real life stuff. It's real life stuff.
I've gone to my job every day with you in my
Yeah.
corner, and
Yeah.
always knowing I had that. And so it's weird for me. Damn it. It's
And
weird.
While
It's
we're on
weird.
the real life stuff, before we get to the new job, like when you look back, like just being real, like you probably wish it went a little differently at the end.
Sure. Oh, no doubt. I mean, listen,
You probably feel like you deserved that. Or not. I'm not trying
Listen,
to put words into your mouth.
When Ray sat me down and he let me go, and I could tell it was awkward for him, and he's on like crazy experience running companies, and he's let probably
him, it's
plenty of people go, right? And
business.
I say, hey, Ray, let me stop you, and I say, like, I want to make this easy on you. I say, like, one word comes on, like, and it's gratitude, and like, I was choked up, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like I was like, I didn't expect it that morning. And like, would I have changed it? Would I have preferred to have like gotten to the end of the season and like, announced it on my turn? Yeah, because if nothing else, that like when my grandkids Google it, like, or I don't know what the hell we're doing, maybe we'll be Google whatever it is.
They'll just think about it.
Yeah,
and
it'll
it'll pop into their brain.
It'll populate their head. But like when my grandkids like look it up, or they like, yeah, would I have preferred it to read, that I stepped down after X number of seasons? But at the end of the day, what does that matter?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the outcome's the same. I've been trying to look at it like I got 2 months, a head start, and like ultimately the Rangers have like changed my life for the better in a million different ways, and that's from Tom Mix and John Hart giving me the job and sticking with me, to new ownership and Ray Davis and Bob Simpson in that group, and raced. Listen, we had 6 straight losing years. I got let go in the middle towards the end of the 6th year, like. Not everybody gets that long.
Right.
And so, I mean, I can look at it objectively, like emotionally, for my own, like would I have preferred a different, like, kind of last line in the book? Sure, but that's kind of how I look at it. It's not like.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the statement that you put out. It was like, you could feel exactly what you just said. You could feel it, and it was genuine. And just as an outsider looking in, reading that, I came in and we did a show, and I remember talking to Emily and be like, wow, that takes a certain kind of person to go through what he just went through and have that perspective so soon. So props to you. I know that's obviously a tough situation, but it seems like you're just making the best of it, and you have fond memories of everybody and everything looking back.
Yeah, I mean, you can always like pick out stuff, right, that you don't like, but you're like, what is is that what you're going to remember?
Yeah.
And I want to teach my kids that too. Like I want to teach my kid, like, what are you going to focus on, like the small stuff that like ultimately doesn't matter in the end, instead of all like this like really awesome positive stuff. So. And it's not like an ag. I mean, I look like objectively, like take inventory. I'm like, I'm really fortunate, and so I'm not gonna be one to like bitch and moan.
That's awesome.
And Robin's not tired of you yet.
Not yet.
Yet. It's still early.
It's early. Give her time.
Really early.
Give her time. I mean, so we have like I think we have like a pretty good like we found this good balance where we're around enough.
Yeah. She's been doing this shit for a while. She's got her system in place. That's what Sandra Beltre told me.
Yeah.
Then she'd text me and be like, Adrian's waiting for me outside the bathroom. And then she'd take a picture. I'm like, oh my God, leave her alone. Leave her alone. She's like, I've been doing this shit on my own for how many ever years? You need to stop messing with my operation.
You did too. Yeah. Yeah, there's some of that. I mean, I remember every year at the end of spring training, I'd come home. I've been gone for 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'd come in and, and I don't know what, I'd be, hey, we got to do, and she was like, cut that shit out. Like, you don't get to, like, we have our rules, we're working. It's like, everybody's like like standing up straight and getting to school on time and
Yeah.
like don't change a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so we've learned from that over the years. We're like, but no, we've got like she and I are probably I don't know as close as we've ever been. Like we have our like disagreements, but we've never been one to like really like have any sort of like blow up type arguments. We're both like pretty like mellow, chill people, but yeah, it's been awesome. Like that's probably been the best part is that like our relationship is really good.
That's awesome. Okay, one more thing, but the new gig, the advisory role with the Rays, you're staying here,
Staying
right?
here, yeah.
So what does that kind of entail?
And how did it happen?
Is this like Cush
it's
special
awesome.
assistant to the
Don't
GM?
we all want to be a
Yeah.
consultant
that
in
I
the
always
end?
like clown on, Michael Young and Colby Lewis and Darren Oliver. I'm like, I'll fucking do assistant to the GM.
Oh,
Okay.
Michael's the one. I mean, I'm like, hey, can you? He's like, I'd love to, but I'm in Mexico.
yeah.
I want to, but we're in
That's
Europe.
special
I'm
assistant
like,
life.
"Ew."
That's special assistant life. It's rough. It's rough.
Yeah, no doubt. So Eric Neander is the president there with the Rays, and one of the people in the game that I hadn't worked with that I've always had this really really good relationship with. Just like the way they kind of, I think some similarities in kind of how we handle ourselves, talk to people, treat people, believe in people, etc. And obviously they one of the lowest payrolls in the game, and they've had unbelievable success.
Yeah.
Ton of great executives come out of there. They do a lot of things right. So it's like I'm not necessarily my focus in as a senior advisor is not picking the players or changing their systems. It's really I think like they have a young group that can Eric said we think we can benefit some from like some of your experiences, and like my goal, like kind of how I've defined or how they've defined success for me, and I've defined it as if it's not so much me like moving up in an organization, like I'm not looking to do that. It's not like my phone's ringing and I'm getting offers, but I don't want that either. It's can I help the rest of that group like advance their careers, and can I help even in just a small way of like can I some of the mistakes I made along the way, can I like help them bypass them and kind of like accelerate their learning curves in some of this way. And they've asked me on a number of player things as well, just people I've been around or experience I've had. And I get to go to the winter meetings next week, and I'm on all their Slack channels and but I'm mostly like, I'm mostly observing at this point and kind of listening more than, chiming in.
It's kind of the ultimate place. I feel like that's kind of where I am in my career. I'm not looking for another job. I'm not looking for anything different. I love what I do, and I'm happy being here as long as they'll have me, but to not be trying to like ladder climb.
Yeah.
It's a really great feeling.
It's really freeing, right?
Yeah, it is.
And there's and like I don't want to, I don't want to say never
Right.
to like something else, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's never either. Like
Yeah.
I'm not.
And you're okay with that.
Right now, for
Yeah.
sure. My youngest is 11, Charlotte, and I all the reasons that I'm around now, I'm assuming that I'll still want to be, and she'll still want me around for a while. So, and I want to I want to do things. I want to you hear about my parents are still in good health. I want to see them, and so we'll see. I mean, maybe my aspirations will change over time, but that's down the line. I'm not thinking about that right now.
Yeah.
Well, we're so thrilled you came in. Before we go, we've got to get in a quick sponsor shout out because you're leaving the studio with some of our early bird CBD gummies, which are totally legal, FYI.
There you go.
Austin-based company, but it's CBD gummies with a little hint of THC that have changed.
Just enough.
Just a little bit. That if you know me and how high strung I am, sometimes I need a little help bringing it down a notch or two. And these have changed my life, especially when it comes to chilling out, relaxing, and sleeping. And so we are going to gift you some early bird CBD gummies and a cute little mom game thermos for you to take to Robin.
Thanks for all your troubles. Here's a thermos.
I feel like when I'm in the,
fill with a giant glass of wine.
I feel like when I'm in the carpool line, like
There you go.
I want the mom game.
You could do
There
that
you
in the
go.
carpool line. So thank you to Early Bird C. Oh, speaking of, this is what happens, JD. I get sidetracked and look at my hair in the camera. So thank you to Early Bird CBD for being a proud sponsor of the mom game. I assume they're proud, and we're excited for you to try their products. I think
Earlybirdcbd.com/TMG to get that 20% discount.
Yes. That's it.
on the gummies.
So, JD, thanks so much for being with us. This was fun. I didn't intend to cry. I know.
I didn't know how to. I'm like I didn't know how to respond.
What do I hug her?
Yeah,
do
I was like, do I
Like,
put
there's
my
no
hand-
tissues here.
Do I pat her on that leg?
Yeah, what's the?
That's
I was
so
looking at Julie
awkward.
for like, what?
Like, she does this sometimes.
How do your
She does
guests-
this. You
how do
never
the
know
guests
what you're gonna
handle this?
get.
I don't cry with many guests, but it really did hit me when you
Yeah.
got shit canned. I mean, it really did. It affected
Yeah.
me.
Well,
I mean, we
You've
grew up
just-
together
I
in the
know.
organization.
You've been my work buddy for a long time, and then like I said, you've always been in my corner, and I know you still are. But now you don't have any fucking say in my job. Like, it's a little scary. That's all I'm saying.
I can still call John and harass him if you want.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yes, John Blake, look out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. I know I did have to talk you into this. Was it as bad? Was it bad?
No, it was great.
I thought it was fine.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
We really
it was
appreciate
fun.
like your honesty and just being so candid and having fun with us. I think a lot of Rangers fans will really appreciate this and getting to hear from you, getting to hear how you're doing now, your perspective on things looking back. And
I don't think nobody's ever talked to you for this long. And that's
Yeah.
why, as your friend, like, I've known a different side of you that I'm like, I wish you guys knew who JD is. Like, I wish
Yeah.
you knew what kind of a person he was and
And
where
I-
his motivations are and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm happy that our audience gets to see that.
yes,
Thank you. Appreciate
sure.
the opportunity to do that.
I know.
I
Sometime
know-
you'll come back and we won't talk about baseball. We can just have fun.
Right.
I like it.
Anytime you're bored and you want to just, exit the house, give Emily a call.
That's where you're
We
at.
can schedule a mom game episode. We
like
can,
And as an avid watcher of the Mom Game, I'm certain you know how we end every episode.
yes.
But surprise me.
That's your camera. Look into it. It's super cheesy, but we started it on episode 1 and we're not giving up. We're on episode 142 right now.
Yeah.
So you flash up the peace signs. You look in your camera, you say Mom Game out. So you take your hands out of your hoodie, flash up your peace signs.
Mom game out.
Mom Game out.
Mom game out.